Greetings to everybody, especially to our entrepreneurs and co-founders working in new startups, and finally to all my colleagues who work in the startup ecosystem. Today, we will talk about COVID-19 new normal, its impact on startups. This video is divided into 3 sections. In the first section, we'll talk about COVID-19 control measures, and then second section talks about how these control measures led to some new normals. Finally, we'll talk about how customers of startups are dealing and coping with the new normal. This will give us an insight on how startups should function so as to successfully deal with the new normal as part of their startup development. In the first section, we'll talk about COVID-19 control measures. The pessimist complains about the wind. The optimist expects it to change. Most people will stop here. But this is like, being reactive. The optimist is waiting for the wind to change and then he'll go ahead to his destination. But this may take a long time or it may not even happen. Then William A. Ward says, the realist adjusts the sails. When the realist adjusts the sails, he gets to the final destination very quickly. This is what we have to do when we are coping with the control measures as startups. There are 4 main control measures in place today. The first is to keep 2-meter distance from other people. Second, focus on positive health care. Then third, very disruptive control measure, lockdowns and travel restriction. And fourth, very important and timely control measure, which deals with workplace hazard control. This is one control measure that should have been there even before the pandemic, but unfortunately, few people paid attention to this. Now, let's look at control measure 1. Keep 2-meter distance from other people. Popularly, this is known as social distancing. But this control measure has had a very high impact on our interactions with others, be it in closed places or in the open or when interacting with traders and buying things. Second control measure, the focus is on positive healthcare. There's a new standard for this called ISO 45001-2018, Occupational Health and Safety Management Systems. This shows us the requirements with guidance for use. The application of this standard enables organizations to provide safe and healthy workplaces and prevent work-related injury and ill health and proactively keep improving our performance. The third control measure, lockdown and travel restrictions, which I said had been very disruptive. It has had far-reaching impact in many areas. And for us in startups, there is a big potential to innovatively give solutions, and solutions are in big demand to deal with, how we should solve many problems that are being faced by travelers and in all the places that we have lockdowns. Control measure 4 is workplace hazard control. ISO 22301-2019 introduced a 9 months before the start of the pandemic has been a timely intervention. No such standard existed before. This deals with security and resilience with business continuity management systems. And it's mostly about requirements. And then you can use these requirements to achieve security and resilience. The application of this standard actually guides us on how to protect against, reduce the likelihood of the occurrence of, and prepare for response to and recover from disruptions when they arise. The idea is to keep serving your key customers even when there is disruption. If you stop serving your key customers, they are going to lose heavily and you're going to lose in revenue because they may change you, they may go to somebody else. But if you keep serving them without interruptions during any disruptions and pandemics, they will become even more and more loyal to you. Now we come to second section, COVID-19 new normal. This train shows you one of the new normals, social distancing. It's everywhere. What is a new normal? It is a state to which an economy, society, and other things settle down following a crisis. And it becomes a new normal only when what happens after the disruption becomes permanent. And things don't revert back to the previous state. Then it's a new normal. Now, after this COVID pandemic, we have reached a stage where we believe that this normal is going to become a part of our life, maybe forever. Even when we come to the next new normal, as we will see, we may not require further new normals. Now that may seem puzzling, but we can work it out. I mean, just looking at yourself, you'll see that we do not need more new normals when the next pandemic or disaster strikes, no matter how big. Today, the new normal looks scary. It's like, a sea filled with poisoned, highly salty and toxic water. We do not know how we'll go through this sea. Interestingly, in April 2020, McKinsey and Company published this wonderful article. The future is not what it used to be. Thoughts on the shape of the next normal. Okay. So this is by Kevin Snyder and Shubhan Singhal. And this is how they actually visualized the current new normal. They saw us passing through a very dark tunnel, scary tunnel, so claustrophobic. But as we go forward towards the light, we see it brighter and brighter, and we land up in a new world, a world full of promise and good things for humanity. Is this what is really happening? Let's see. Now, COVID-19 new normal that happened against each of the 4 control measures we'll discuss here. So keeping 2-meter distance from other people, what are the control measures? What that led to this new normal? Keep 2-meter distance from other people. So no physical contact, contactless buying, shift to e-commerce. These are the requirements of keeping 2-meter distance. And when you have to focus on positive health care, the new normal is preventive health care, personal wellness, and clean environment. Then what about lockdowns and travel restrictions? This leads to 3 new normal: work from home, have virtual meetings and not face-to-face meetings, preferably, and shift to online education. Highly progressive things. Workplace hazard control focuses on workplace hazards, then safe workplaces and business continuity. Now we come to the third section, coping with the new normal. Again, I go back to a great article written in Strategy in April or 2020, just a few days after the McKinsey article. So this article says how to respond when a crisis becomes the new normal. And what they suggest is what every startup should be doing in any case. And this becomes even more important when we are facing a pandemic and we have to rethink on how to provide the best solution for the end customers. So here it goes. What this article talks about is that the key to success are preparation, agility, accurate data, willingness to harvest good ideas from every layer of an enterprise. Here the enterprise is the company that is being created by the co-founders. Now, coping with positive healthcare, preventive healthcare, personal wellness, and clean environment, there's personalized healthcare. People are really taking care of themselves because they know that if they are healthy and build immunity, they will be less likelihood of them suffering if they catch the pandemic. Then we have clean work area routine before start of every shift to ensure that you do not catch the virus because somebody was sitting somewhere and left a patch behind. Third, normal work from home, virtual meetings, online education. So pre-COVID-19, work was mostly office-based. However, some organizations allowed limited remote working. Now, after the pandemic, there was progress in one particular area. Worldwide tech-enabled remote working solutions, and these were being used successfully to deal with, work from remote areas, study at home, e-learning based study at home in a new way altogether, and remote meetings. And what is being felt by experts is that at least 40% of the jobs may remain work from home. These people need not shift to offices to be more effective than ever. One thing that has been found is that people who have structured their work properly are able to work better from home than people who are, working without much structure and the activities that are being done in each process. You need to structure the activities in each work process. And when these are standardized, practically everybody can work from home. That is the lesson from COVID-19. Here we see a family in a room, and this young girl is getting online education, which means that she is being transmitted a lesson over the internet, say through Zoom, and she's interactively dealing with it. Here, very fortunately, she has her grandmother looking at the same lesson and giving her wonderful insights. Imagine how much more this young girl is going to learn this way than if she was actually studying in class. It really all depends on what the teacher is, teaching, the way she's teaching, and she understands that, transmitting a lesson across Zoom cannot be the same way as teaching on the blackboard. There has to be something more involved in it, and it requires training. When you give training, you get excellent results through online learning for school children, adults alike. Then this husband and wife are working from home, and everybody in the room has a collected life and work together. And imagine, how great they must be feeling. Everybody knows what everybody else does and appreciates it. It is really spending quality time, even while working. Now, here's a virtual meeting in progress. Meetings in progress, say on Zoom or elsewhere, are now recorded. You can record it and keep the proceedings of the meeting as they are. And what you decide at the end of the meeting, you just say, okay, now we'll do this, 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 and we'll come back tomorrow morning at so and such and such time, and we'll discuss what each one of us did as discussed. And so you progress to the next day and the next meeting, and everything is much more serious than what happens in general meetings as they happen in office environment. Now, focus on workplace hazards, safer workplaces, business continuity. So earlier, to deal with this, we had a British standard called OSAS 2007. There was no international ISO standard. And the British standard focused mainly on giving the requirements, and they, said you make somebody responsible to monitor the system and work with it. Now, ISO standards follow a system based on ISO 9001, 2015. There's an annex there, and the annex dictates how each standard will follow what. And ISO 45001, 2018 is to be read along with ISO 9001, 2015. And this means that, like all ISO standards now, the owner of the standard is the CEO himself, the CEO of the location where the standard is being applied. You cannot pass on responsibility to others. You cannot have a management representative as in the past. And this is where this ISO 45001 works so beautifully. This standard, in fact, is available free of cost from ISO organization. They expect that when you use the standard, you will be able to have very good workplaces and safer environments for people, and you will achieve business continuity. Well, I'll just talk about one thing that is required to prevent hazards getting to become risks and injuring and harming people and machinery, etc. These are warning signs. Hazard warning reduction reduces risk, and if you have hazard signs, you reduce risk. The rest of this 45001 we will discuss separately in detail in another video, which I'll be releasing shortly, exclusively on 45001. Similarly, I will release a video exclusively for 22301. These are really essentials that our co-founders and startups in progress and already working must introduce into their business models and work requirements if they are to really serve their customer very well. Now, there has been accelerated development of digitizations and AI. That is what has made us see a very bright future ahead of us. This is how it happened. Progress expected by end 2025 has happened within 6 months, from 1st January 2020 to end June 2020. So we are already in the 2025 scenario as would have happened if there was no pandemic. And the digitization champions who adapted this accelerated development the best by ranking, according to me, this is my ranking, were South Korea, Singapore, Japan, USA, China, and Germany in that order. They have the best solutions going, whether it is in businesses or in the development of smart factories and smart products. So in pre-COVID-19 normal, digital technologies were mostly used by companies on need-based basis. Okay, a way to reduce cost and improve efficiency. This was the only criteria they used. Of course, not everyone. Say progressive companies like Siemens, BMW, and say most of all, more than everybody else, Amazon, they were already doing what others are now feverishly trying to do in the post-COVID-19 new normal situation. So in the new normal situation, this is how we are using digital technologies. This large-scale use of digitization and AI-enabled internet technologies. And there are a large number of internet technologies. I have actually 15 internet technologies that I follow. And most companies I find are actually using all these 15 internet technologies now. Earlier, they would use maybe only 3 or 4 of these internet technologies. But now they're using these major 15 internet technologies. That's how far we are gone. Then we have converted to small businesses and Lean 4.0 smart factories. These smart businesses are as advanced as Lean 4.0 smart factories in their adaptation of digital technologies. Now, what this means is that there is big cost reduction, maybe 40% in case of smart factories, and perhaps even much more in the case of smart businesses, which are dealing directly with customers, not producing anything, but delivering services. They may have reduced much more cost reductions. Now then there's individualized customization to suit every customer. Now, in fact, during this COVID-19 era, customers want more personalization. They want the supplier to know them intimately, to know what he needs, when he needs it, how he needs it, and to serve him as an individual, offering him products that really suit him. They should not have to ask, do you want this or that? They should know what the customer wants and what he buys regularly. Then there's a built-in resilience in these companies. Here, Amazon comes into focus again because it already had built-in resilience before the pandemic. When the pandemic struck, Amazon did not bat an eyelid. They kept serving their prime customers without any stop in deliveries. They were already resilient. And there was no stoppage. As a result, a lot of people, even prime customers who were buying something from outside, shifted en masse to e-commerce. And the result was that Amazon had much more work to do. And from 500,000 workers at the beginning of the pandemic, within 6 months, they had 800,000 workers serving this extended base of new customers and existing customers wanting more and more from them. And you know how Amazon has really become so popular. Now let us look at one particular application about uh, what startups can do in in the area of a smart uh, factory, or here in this case in the area of a smart city. So in a smart city, there are, for example, 8 areas in which uh, startups can offer highly innovative solution. These are energy management, pollution, traffic monitoring, transportation monitoring, parking monitoring, monitoring patients in at home and in hospitals, then various applications in automatic various things at home, and city services like safety, handling emergency, and there are a very large number of other areas in which startups can work, both in smart factories and, as in this case, in smart cities, at the periphery of which smart factories happen to occur. So here, gentlemen, I show you a happy startup and the wonderful products they can create. Say a product like this is not something in the future. Such product can already happen and does exist even now. So the future is not what it used to be. It is very, very bright. And McKinsey in August 2020 got out another great article. The next normal, the recovery will be digital. What they say that because of the vast data that we are generating in this current pandemic and storing this in the cloud, this big data is giving us clues on how to deal effectively with any pandemic and with any disaster. So happens now that even with our current stage of artificial intelligence, we are able to deal with any sort of disaster that will occur. And the next disaster will be handled without human intervention. That's a great thing to know, and I'm sure it will happen. So this has been a Startup Sandbox video. We look at the bright futures. They begin here with startups and the startup ecosystem. Thank you, gentlemen and ladies, and all our young entrepreneurs. Thank you again and again.